Hello everybody, this is Tim here again, here in my treasure trove of a room. Just figured I'd do another video here. This time I want to do what I consider the Wizard of Oz trilogy. Now there's been quite a few adaptations of the Wizard of Oz, but I call this the trilogy simply because it's Wizard of Oz, Return to Oz, and Oz the Great and Powerful. So you got one original, one sequel, and one prequel. Sequel and prequel by Disney. So I pretty much consider this a trilogy since they're all three connected in a lot of ways. Now, just up to the flicks. Even if they're loosely connected, they're still connected. Now, just jump into the flicks. You get the 1939 Judy Garland flick. I mean, what more can you say about the Judy Garland flick? I mean, it's a classic. Everybody loves it. It's obviously a 4-star out of 4 picture. It's great musical, really colorful, beautiful colors. Of course, some of the effects are dated now. Any movie from the 1930s is going to be dated by the time you get to the 2000 and somethings, especially 218. But it still looks beautiful, and it's just got such a fantastic fantasy aspect about it that's just really enjoyable. Judy Garland is very cute and adorable looking. Somewhere Over the Rainbow is a beautiful song, which almost was cut from the film. I have no idea why. It works really well in the flick. Pretty much, I don't even know why I'm going to summarize this film, but I guess I will for anyone who's never seen The Wizard of Oz. Judy Garland, young Kansas farm girl, gets hit in a tornado, winds up in a magical land of Oz, attacked by a wicked witch. She ends up killing the wicked witch by throwing water on her. You get the famous line, I'm melting, I'm melting. She makes friends with a scarecrow, a tin man, and a cowardly lion. The cowardly lion was my favorite character. The other two were great. He was great as well, but he was my favorite just because he was hilarious and how cowardly he was. But at the same time, he was extremely brave as well because of course, he's helping out Dorothy a lot, and even though he gets scared, he still ends up doing it. And of course, by the end, we know the wizard's a sham, and which is really funny. He's a fake, but he gives them pretty much things that signify that they have these qualities, even though they feel like they don't. But of course, they actually do because they use the qualities throughout the film. If Scarecrow didn't have a brain, he wouldn't be able to think as good as he did in the film, of course, and so on. And of course, if the Tin Man didn't have a heart, he wouldn't feel so sad when something happened to Dorothy or whatever. So they already have these qualities. They just need something to signify it for them. So in the end, of course, Dorothy clicks her ruby slippers that she has that she got off the first witch her house landed on. And that's how she gets back home. And of course, you get that famous scene where she's like, and you were there, talking about all the people who, all the people in her real life were pretty much represented in Oz as different characters, some as friends, some as enemies, and so that's just interesting the way they did it, and it all works together really well for a masterpiece of a musical. Really enjoyable, light-hearted, fun songs. Now, Return to Oz is a different matter. Return to Oz is a darker film. Disney made this many years later. I think it has, like in the Guinness Book of World Records, it's one of the latest done sequels. It's not a masterpiece like the original, but it's a 3.5-star flick. It's a really good movie, and in some ways it's better than the original because it's better effects, or at least for me, better effects. Fairuza Balk from The Waterboy and The Craft, the evil goth chick on The Craft, plays Dorothy, and she's actually really adorable here as a little kid. And this is her best acting performance I've ever seen from her. She does a great job here. This is her best acting performance by far, and I'm surprised that, I guess it's because this movie bombed that she never went on to get more kind of like fantasy type roles like this, but she could have really carried it. In this film, you get new characters who are kind of representations of her old friends. You get Jack Pumpkinhead, the Gump, a stitched together character with a kind of like a deer head or a moose head or whatever, and you get a TikTok, which the new characters were good, but TikTok is the one that's great. I like TikTok better than both the characters from the first film, except for the Cowardly Lion. I don't think he's as good as the Cowardly Lion, but he's better than Scarecrow and Tin Man. And this film is widely known for its much creepier atmosphere, and it does have a creepier atmosphere, like they're trying to give Dorothy electroshock therapy, and it has much more of a haunting feel to it. And she wakes up in the Land of Oz when she escapes from the mental institution. And winds back up in the Land of Oz. She has a talking chicken. The effects are really good. I kind of wish Jack Pumpkinhead's pumpkin head was a little bit more expressive, but he looks great, and his voice is really good. They got to defeat the Gnome King. In the end, they defeated by the chicken, Belinda, I believe is her name. Or Belina, I mean. Lays an egg down his mouth. And, of course, through the movie, they keep saying, it's a chicken, because they're all freaking out, because apparently Gnome Kings are allergic to eggs. The eggs are deadly for them, and when he swallows an egg, the dude crumbles like Terminator 2 style in a cool effect. One thing leads to another. Dorothy wakens back in the regular world, and all is better, and it's a happy ending. This feels like a really old school dark Disney movie, like the other ones, like Something Wicked, This Way Comes, and stuff like that from way back in the day that they just don't make anymore. This fits right in there with that. It's a really good flick, and it's very underrated. This is not a bad movie, and I highly recommend it. Now for the last one, Oz the Great and Powerful, which is pretty much a prequel about the story of the wizard. This flick I'd give 3 out of 4. This is a good movie, but it's not great or really good like the other two, but it's good. It's a good fantasy flick. James Franco plays the wizard. We get to see how he comes to Oz and everything. He's a con man pretty much, winds up in Oz in a weather balloon. There's also a womanizer. You get Zach Braff as the voice of a monkey, which is pretty funny. You get a Cowardly Lion cameo, which was also funny. James Franco does a good job as the wizard, but he doesn't do great. He has like this pothead smile he does too much that doesn't really work for the character. It's out of place. But Glinda the Good Witch, played by Michelle Williams, I believe, she does a great job as the Good Witch. Mila Kunis as the Theodora, who turns into the Wicked Witch eventually. She does a good job, but she's just a little bit. She's too pretty to be able to 100% pull off the Wicked Witch. Even when she turns green, it's like, well, you're still hot. You're just green. But anyway, well, she does a good job. Rachel Weisz as I believe it's Evanora, the other witch who in the future in the Wizard of Oz movie gets the house dropped on her. She does a great job as well. And the biggest problem I have with this flick is the wizard is like a womanizer or whatever, and he like hits on Mila Kunis' character and makes her think that he loves her already and everything. But he really doesn't, of course. And later on in the movie, he has a change of heart. But what this leads to, though, is it enables her evil sister to take advantage of it and pretend like he's trying to cheat on her with Glinda, Michelle Williams' character, even though he does have the hots for Glinda when he sees her. He's not like making a move on her. But her evil sister tries to make her think that he is, and she uses that to her advantage of making her eat this apple, which turns her into the Green Witch. Now, the problem I have with this is the wizard never really atones for this. Like, he does become a better person by the end in a really predictable fashion. But the problem I have with it is that the movie just kind of ends. Like, he tells the Wicked Witch as she's flying off, Mila Kunis, he's like, and if you ever find goodness again, you're welcome to come back to Oz. And it's like, well, we know she doesn't find goodness again. She just ends up dying. I'm like, you should be the one out there trying to help her find goodness again. It should be your quest. You're responsible. Even though her sister tricked her into eating that green apple to become evil, it's still your fault that it was ever able to happen in the first place, because if you hadn't let her on, she wouldn't have been tricked. It's still partially your fault. You should be trying to atone for this. Just because you become a better person doesn't erase all the sins you committed beforehand. That's not how it works. You should have to atone. And the character just really doesn't. I know they were probably saving it for a sequel to try to do something with that. But this film didn't make like $1 billion at the box office like Alice in Wonderland, so we never got a sequel. So it just winds up feeling like an empty plot line. So all in all, yeah, a good film. Not great, but good. I'd give it 3 out of 4. All for the movies as a trilogy, as like a loose trilogy, I would say it's a good trilogy. Oz the Great and Powerful brings it down a bit. And of course, neither one of the other two movies, the sequel or the prequel, are on the level of the original. But they're still very much worth watching. Well, at the very least, Return to Oz is very much worth watching. Oz the Great and Powerful is a good watch, but it's not something you should like go out of your way to see, unless you're a really big fan unless you're a fan of the other two movies, you just want to see more. Now, for anything else Oz related, I do want to do a review of The Wiz after this, the one starring Michael Jackson. I've never seen The Wiz. and I know it got terrible reviews when it came out, and it was a total flop, but I want to give it a chance just to kind of see what it's like. I'm curious. So I'll see you guys again with the next review.